My friend, let me tell you about the coaching call that changed everything for one of my clients. We'll call her Sarah, not her real name. But Sarah was convinced that she was the worst practitioner ever because she got her first client. She was so excited on cloud 9. And within 6 weeks, that client canceled halfway through their 3-month package. No warning, just an email that said, thanks, that was great, but I don't need this anymore. Then she ghosted. And so Sarah was devastated, okay? And she jumped on a coaching call and she said, what are we gonna do? And here's what happened next. In one 15-minute coaching session, we turned her biggest failure and this end of the world experience that she felt so down about into a gold mine of insights that actually have now bulletproofed her business to make sure this doesn't happen again, and really ultimately bulletproofed her client process, which is what you see behind me. So I'm going to walk you through the exact 4-step evaluation that I took Sarah through, because if you're building a practice right now, this is going to happen to you. And if you're watching this video, I know you are building your own practice and it will happen to you. We have to just call it out. You will have people that get on a call with you and they're super excited to get started and they say, yep, I'm ready. And then they ghost and you never hear from them again. And you may have clients that have a similar experience where they start off guns blazing, they're super excited, and then all of a sudden they just stop and you have no idea what happened. So this is one of the key components, by the way, that I teach in the Profitable Practice Philosophies course. So you can get that for free by clicking on the link in the description. This is a free course for you where I teach this exact strategy. It is key for success. And I'm going to give you the 4 steps that I used with Sarah that really helped her. And I know it's going to help you. All right, so step 1 in this 4-step process, it's really a 3-step process, but this is kind of a bonus step. Bonus step 1 is to take 100% responsibility for the situation. So this is a big mindset shift, and I know that this would go against what a lot of people would say to do in this situation, but bear with me, okay? Our first instinct in a situation like this where a client ghosts is one of 2 things. We either blame the client and say they weren't committed, they didn't follow through, they just wanted a quick fix, oh my gosh, they're not committed. That could be one path. But what most people I see do is completely blame themselves, okay? And they go into this land of, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible practitioner. I knew this wasn't going to work. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't really help people, and really go into a blame game of blaming ourselves, okay? I see this a lot. But there's a third option. And this is what the most successful practitioners do, the most successful business owners. They take 100% responsibility of what they could have controlled in the situation, and they do it with neutrality. Okay? Blame, not neutral. Doom and gloom, not neutral at all. But if we shift into neutrality, like a scientist putting on a lab coat and just evaluating the data, this is what I actually like to think of in a situation like this that can be highly emotional as a business owner, and it could be heightened in activating in some ways. Come at it with neutrality, like a scientist putting on their lab coat and just coming to look at the data, okay? And we're just gonna look at the data and evaluate it from neutrality and go, what was I actually in control of in this situation, instead of spiraling into scenarios that you really could never have controlled. And for example, somebody not being committed or not following through or just wanting a quick fix, not empowering at all, okay? So for you in solving problems in your business is not a good place to go. We have to talk about the mindset of neutrality and evaluating data, okay? We don't blame yourself, but I did say that step 1 is take 100% responsibility. So in this step, you are going to look at, what am I in control of in this situation? What could I have done better? And commit to getting better, and look at it through that lens of, okay, where am I actually in control of this? So we're going to do that now through the rest of the 3 steps in the process and get very specific on the marketing process, your sales process, and your client delivery process, which is this client journey that you see behind me, and where you did have control in those areas. And specifically, we'll figure out why the situation happened, okay? But just know that if you blame the client or you blame yourself and it's coming from a place of heightened emotion, you are powerless in that situation. You can't change from it. You can't learn from it. And ultimately, this is what I told my client as well. We either win or we learn. In business, in life, I think it applies everywhere, but we're either winning or we're learning. Winning, learning, okay? And this can be a really good learning experience. So let's get into it with step 2. This is exactly how we evaluate what happened in the situation. And you can use this for pretty much any client interaction, but someone ghosting you or somebody quitting is one of those areas where we can learn a lot from. So let's look at these 3 areas, starting with your marketing process, okay? This is one of the huge components that is going to determine the success of your clients when they work with you, because how you market to somebody really filters for the type of clients coming in. All right, so in this evaluation, remember you're a scientist with your lab coat on, you may ask yourself, how might I have been responsible for attracting someone in my marketing who wasn't my easiest client to work with? How might I have actually created this experience with some of the messaging that I was putting out there, or the conversations that I had in my marketing or pre-sales that could have led to this situation? Remember, we're not blaming, we are taking responsibility for what we actually can control. And a lot of times just asking better questions of ourselves will yield some pretty solid insights. And so that's what we're doing here. Was my messaging attracting people that were looking for quick fixes? Was my messaging attracting people that were looking for huge results, and if they didn't get them immediately, they were going to be discouraged? Is there some way I could have contributed to that? Did I emphasize the results they were going to get really fast because I wanted to sell them, over being really clear about the process and the commitment that was required? Is that something that maybe in my messaging could have happened? Was I clear about who this process is not for? I think that's really something to evaluate and to look into for a lot of us. We're so good at talking about, and maybe not even always so good, but we really emphasize talking about who is this for, who is this for, who is this for. But do we also put filters in to talk about who this is not for? Because that can oftentimes change the client experience and the clients coming in. Okay, so that's really what you're looking at when you're evaluating your marketing process. Is there something that I am in control of as the business owner in my marketing process that may have led to this result of this client ghosting or this lead ghosting or whatever that is? Sometimes you will get some good intel there. Sometimes you won't. And it doesn't mean that you did anything wrong. It doesn't mean that your marketing was off, but sometimes this can yield some good insights. So we start there. Was that part of the problem? Is there something there that we can learn from? Yes or no? Then we move on to step 3, which is evaluating your sales process. Now, your marketing process is you having conversations, it's your messaging, it's stirring up interest. And I always say it's honestly having conversations. You having conversations with real humans online and in person, them having conversations in their own head about if they should hire you, if they should work with you, if this process will work for them having conversations with other people in their life, asking those same questions, maybe sending referrals your way. But that's what marketing is. It's conversations, inspiring conversations. Now, the selling is actually saying the words, I can help you, taking payment and executing the contract, basically. Okay, the conversion is the sales process. So we're going to evaluate that a little bit. Were there any red flags that maybe you ignored in your sales process that could have alerted you to the fact that this client maybe wasn't a best fit, or they maybe had some misinterpretation of how the process was going to work that could have been cleared up in the sales process? Did they seem really overwhelmed or stressed initially, and you had a red flag feeling? We usually will know if we had that feeling, and especially in the beginning of our businesses, we work through that, and we're like, no, I'm good. Even if I have a red flag, I'm still going to take the client. I'm going to learn, because we either win or we learn, and this might be a learning experience. But was that the case? Remember, you're taking responsibility for what you can, with neutrality, looking at data, and you're leaving the rest. This isn't about blaming. This is about being proactive and understanding that we do create scenarios in our life and in our businesses that we are in control of the circumstances. So where might that be in the sales process? Was this person, for example, asking a lot of questions about the guarantee, or if you had a guarantee, or asking about timelines and trying to push timelines that felt unrealistic? And could you remember that maybe you responded in a way that, looking back, didn't set them up for success? Maybe had unrealistic expectations. That could be the case sometimes. Did this person, another thing that comes up is did this person talk a lot about how they have tried a lot of things and they never stick with it? Were there some red flags there that perhaps there could have been some coaching in the sales process about what was expected and what this timeline would look like? Things that are interesting to explore. Okay, so that's what you're doing when you're evaluating the sales process. Now, step 4 is to evaluate your actual client delivery process. This, honestly, is where most of the gold is hidden in this situation. This is where you will mine for the best insights. And it's exactly why, by the way, you need a mapped out client journey for every single client that you work with. Most practitioners don't, by the way. They totally wing it through the client experience, they case by case, and they're just kind of flying by the seat of their pants. And that works to a certain extent, right up until it doesn't, and somebody ghosts you and doesn't have a great experience, and you're watching this video and you're figuring out, oh, okay, this is how I can be more strategic and more intentional so that doesn't happen in the future, and so my clients actually have a better experience and have higher retention, and they actually have higher compliance and get better results, and then they send more referrals my way. Oh, this is actually a really good use of my time, because as you're going to see, especially in the onboarding and the activation phase of your client journey. This is after somebody pays you and you're bringing them on as a client, you're onboarding them and activating them, especially in that phase. You can prevent probably 90% plus of the situations where somebody ghosts you or where somebody quits on themselves, honestly. And so I want to invite you to a little extra that I have for you. I created a free AI tool that actually walks you through mapping out your entire client journey step by step. It helps you identify exactly where your process might need attention, and it gives you best practices for how to really effectively onboard and activate your clients so that they get better results and have really realistic expectations that are actually lower than what they're going to achieve, so they feel like they're overachieving in your process instead of underachieving and ghost. That resource is also linked up in the description, so you can grab that now, because we are about to dive into the real reason that clients disappear. You're going to want to have your client journey mapped out as we go through this. Here it is. Are you ready? Drum roll. All the anticipation for what is the real reason that people ghost for the most part. We looked at your marketing, we looked at your sales process, and maybe there's some clues there on where there were some red flags and things to tidy up a little bit. But honestly, the real reason that most clients ghost is after they pay you and after they get started in your process, they get so overwhelmed, okay? And the reason that people quit is because of overwhelm. And it's not because they aren't getting results. It's because they don't realize the progress that they're making because they're overwhelmed. And so you, as the practitioner, and I work with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of holistic nutritionists, health coaches, functional nutritionists, lots of modalities of health and wellness practitioners. And here's one thing that is very consistent is they see the progress in their clients, but their clients oftentimes don't. So that is the job as the business owner and as the practitioner, is to make sure that we have a way for our clients to track the progress that they're making and them to see that every step of the way without getting overwhelmed. I want you to think about this. Your clients come to you with problems that they have been struggling with for months or maybe even for years, and they are expecting dramatic changes. They're hoping for it. It's definitely something that they are striving towards, but the real transformation, as we know, happens in small little incremental improvements. Some of them are really easy to see. Some of them are really big, but a lot of those things are easy to miss if we aren't consistently tracking that and showing our clients the progress that they've made, making things really simple in the process, making it really easy for them to see the progress that they're making. So if you don't have mechanisms built into your client delivery process for over communicating what the basic simple things are that they need to be doing next, and again, keeping things really simple. I'll say the word simple about 5,000 times for us because it is so important to remember that it needs to be simple. The next step needs to be simple. The following steps need to be simple. Everything needs to feel very simple and doable for your clients, which I teach you how to do in that AI tool and in the client journey that I teach. But honestly, it's about showing them their progress. It's about keeping them from feeling overwhelmed. And that's really what I uncovered with my client, Sarah, not her real name. But when we coached on this, she was like, I just don't understand why this client quit. She was doing so great. And when I asked her, does she know she was doing so great? Like, we kind of pondered that a little bit. She's like, honestly, I don't know if she does. I was seeing it in her, but I don't know that she was able to see that. I think that she actually was probably pretty overwhelmed. So that's great to know. These are the little insights, the little gold nuggets that we take, that we apply into the future to make the process better, to make the filtering of the clients better, to make the communication better, to actually make the process simpler. Because maybe right now your process isn't simple. And I'm telling you that you need to tell your clients that your process is simple, and you're like, but it's not. Well, it's time to change that. It's time to really distill it down to the basics and make it as simple as possible. One little tip for this is to be measuring habit consistency, or like the consistency of doing little things, little simple things, and showing your clients how consistent they've been with little wins, instead of just crossing your fingers, toes, everything, and hoping, gosh, I hope they get this huge epiphany result as fast as possible. Well, that's not usually realistic, right? And we know that. So let's set our business up for success and the clients up for success to know that it is going to happen probably incrementally and over time, but they can measure that and see the progress happening in real time. Okay? Because they are humans and they're going to forget that they're making progress, and they're going to assume that absolutely nothing is working, and they're going to think that it's all for naught. They're overwhelmed, and that is when people disappear. So my friend, there you have it. 4 steps to evaluate a client failure, big air quotes on failure, and turn it actually into future profits in your business. You first of all take 100% responsibility for what you can control, which isn't everything, but what you can control. Secondly, you look at your marketing process and evaluate that. Third, you evaluate your sales process. And then fourth, and this is probably where you'll spend the most time, you evaluate your client journey for any communication breakdowns and overwhelm in particular. Honestly, that's it. It's kind of boring work. Evaluating, kind of boring, kind of tedious. And this is what most business owners don't realize, most health and wellness practitioners in particular, because I hear all the time, oh my gosh, I love working with my clients. I love the client stuff, but I hate the business side of it, or I just don't get the business side. And this is very meta considering what we've talked about so far, but the business side can really be simple. Okay, you have to evaluate. This is where real growth happens. This is the boring work. This is the stuff that is actually simple, but most people avoid because they don't want to look at the failure. They don't want to look at where things aren't working. They just want to kind of gloss past that and not learn from it. But successful practitioners separate themselves from everyone else by being willing to do that, by facing their worst fear, which is a client quitting or not getting results or requesting a refund. And when you realize that all of those things can happen and you're not going to die, you can actually learn from it. It can actually make your experience in your business better for you and for your clients. Then you can use that feedback and you can actually make the process better for you and for your clients. And if you're willing to do this, by the way, if you are willing to face your fears, you are breathing rare air. Honestly, I just have to say that. Sadly, most of your colleagues will never do this. I have heard the statistic that 95% of holistic nutritionists never have a profitable practice. And they have huge ambitions of helping people, but they never actually do it. And after coaching on this for years and years and helping so many people, I know that that is because of one thing, which is fear. Fear of failure, fear of feeling uncertain, fear of being nervous and disappointed. But if you can risk feeling those emotions and take action anyway, if you can risk feeling fear and just do it, and if you're still listening right now, I know that that is definitely you, then your success truly is inevitable. And that's very, very exciting. Now, here's the beautiful part. When you face all that fear, you dig in, you improve your client success rate because you're willing to do some of this boring work. You don't just retain more clients. You don't just avoid having people ghost you. What you do is you make that experience so much better for those clients that you get more referrals because their results are better. They go talk about it. Happy clients who are raving about their results, they are the best marketing you could ever have. So this boring work actually is a marketing and sales activity if you want to wrap it up that way for yourself. Now, I know I was a little ambiguous about the client journey process and everything that I have outlined behind me, and that is because I have a complete step-by-step breakdown of how to implement and maximize each phase of your client journey in a separate video, and we use that free AI tool that I mentioned to create this bulletproof process that is going to keep your clients engaged, keep them getting results without being overwhelmed. So you can watch this video next. We'll have it linked up on the screen here. And in that video, like I said, I'm going to walk you through the exact strategies for maximizing your onboarding, your activation, your retention, and renewal stage of your client journey. That's going to ensure that your clients not only stick around for their entire package, but they become your biggest advocates, sending you referrals on repeat, which is the best.